All right, good evening. We'd like to welcome everyone to our Elmore County Commission work session dated Monday, February 9, 2010. We will call this meeting to order. I'd first like to begin by recognizing we have an elected official here, Judge John Thornton, our probate judge. We appreciate him being here, and we welcome all of you joining us tonight. I know the rain hit right before we started, so thank you for braving the weather and joining us. As you can see before us, there's many different litter critters on display, and we are looking forward to the opportunity to having these placed throughout the county. We're introducing tonight Elmore County's newest voices for helping to keep our natural resources rich and our county beautiful. The Elmore County Anti-Litter Critters are here to remind our citizenry of the opportunities to properly dispose of trash and litter, along with advocating to participate in cleaning up the areas of our county and to eliminate illegal dumping. Over the next several months, you can expect to see the Elmore County Anti-Litter Critters in our local schools and along roadsides throughout the county. Again, discouraging people from throwing litter and trash on the side of the road, and hopefully encouraging our young people to create good habits for their future. We ask that each of you will take the opportunity to share our messages on social media. We will be releasing a press release about this later tonight and tomorrow morning. And please take the opportunity, feel free to take pictures tonight, share those on social media. We hope that this will be something that spreads throughout the county, builds some unity among our citizenry, and encourages, again, anti-littering efforts throughout the county. We've had lots of different small things that we've done, a countywide cleanup day. We've had the spring clean each April of each year. But this hopefully will be a unifying effort to bring the whole county together and beautify the wonderful place in which we live. We'll be glad to answer any questions about the campaign later this evening if you have any questions for any of the commissioners. We'll now proceed with our regular business, a review of the minutes of the January 27, 2020 Commission meeting. Any comments or questions? We'll proceed with a review the memorandum of warrants for the period January 23, 2020 through February 4, 2020. Mr. Byer?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, during that time period, the memorandum of warrants was $1,075,556.46.
All right, thank you. Any comments or questions? All right, we'll now proceed with old business. Discuss 3 appointments to the Elmore County Healthcare Authority Board. The appointment is due today, February 10, 2020. We have 3 appointments, and the following candidates are presented: Frank Barnett, Jason Britt, Lee Greer, Linda Lewis, Dr. Rocky Lyons, Dakota Steed, and Gerald Sweeney. Are there any additional names to be added from any commissioners? All right, are there any comments or discussion on these? Yes, Mr. Byer.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, just for point of knowledge, it's seats 6, 7, and 8 that are the vacancies for that board.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry, excuse me, 6, 8, and 9.
6, 8, and 9. 8 and 9 being the 2 new board positions that the Elmore County Healthcare Authority Board added at their recent board meeting. All right, any comments on any of these individuals?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sure all 7 are very qualified individuals and would do a wonderful job on this board. I know Mr. Lee Greer personally, and I'm aware of his many, many years in the business part of the medical field. Many of those years spent at Community Hospital in Tallahassee, and I certainly think he would make a great addition, as I don't believe there's been any representation on that board from that area over there. So I feel confident that Mr. Greer would be a great addition. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Chairman, I'd like to add, I want to thank the Healthcare Authority for expanding the board and recognizing the fact that we need to strive to have some additional representation on this board from other parts of the county. this board receives, just almost $1 million a year from ad valorem tax collections, and we, historically have not had a real, geographical diverse representation of that board. By adding these two additional seats, seat 8 and 9, that's one of our goals, is to, have representation, from a more broad section across the county. I have known Mr. Frank Barnett for many years. He lives on the west side of the county. He has extensive background in upper management in different various governmental agencies. I think he would do us a great job, and I appreciate his willingness to have his name considered. That's all I have, Chairman.
Thank you. Any additional comments? All right, we will proceed with new business. Discuss county participation in Phase 1 of the Wetumpka Stadium project. I'll add a few comments, and then Mr. Byer can provide some additional detail. As many of you are aware, the City of Wetumpka has made the decision to construct a football stadium with an accompanying competition-level track that will go around the football field. We've been involved in several meetings with the City of Wetumpka and the Elmore County Board of Education. They view this as a project that will serve as the home football field for the Wetumpka High School Indians, but also, as many of you may be aware, there are no competition-level tracks anywhere in Elmore County, and we have numerous high schools that have track teams that are now traveling to Selma or Carver High School for practice. And in an effort to support the entire school system in our county, all of which are competing with other schools that do have tracks, the City of Wetumpka has also offered that this track that is around the football field will be something that can be used by all of the neighboring schools in our community. So they will be able to host track meets, they'll be able to practice, and so it's a community opportunity. It is something that, if you're not familiar, it will be located on Coosa River Parkway. They've already started some construction. They've been moving dirt out there over the last week or so, and we as a county have been asked to participate in some of the parking demands that will surely accompany the stadium construction. And so we will be working alongside the actual stadium construction, and would be working in the adjoining area for the parking. I think this is a tremendous opportunity for us to engage in a community effort, and something similar that we have done in the past and will continue to do when various schools or municipalities have specific needs that go towards quality of life. And we can talk more about some of that later on with a few other agenda items that we have on how kind of all of this is going to be interwoven. Mr. Byer, can you provide some specifics on what this phase includes?
Yes, sir. This there's actually two phases that we're being asked to help with. The first phase, which is on the agenda for tonight, is the expansion of some rectangular fields that the city has right now as one of their soccer fields. This would be an expansion that would create them a space to do track and field events, and have two additional or an additional space for either soccer or football to occur. It also includes some extension of some drainage structures, some laying of pipe, things of that nature that would have to occur to accommodate the widening of the field. So all total, with our labor and material equipment rates factored in, all this should be less than $100,000 in total effort. Material cost is somewhere in that 35 to 40 range.
All right, thank you. Any additional comments or questions regarding this?
Chairman, I think, we've spoken a lot about the fact that we want to participate in projects across the county. It doesn't matter if it's a municipal project, a county project, or a Board of Education project. The fact of the matter is, it's Elmore County citizens' money, whether it comes in initially to the Revenue Commissioner's office and it's distributed to the Board of Education, or if it's distributed to a municipality, if that may be the case, or the county commission. It's all Elmore County taxpayers, and that's who we're here to serve. So I see this as a very good project for us to participate in, especially since it's going to allow for our students in our county to have a practice track. Right now, they are, as Commissioner Stubbs said, they're having to go outside the county to participate. So I think there's nothing but positives for us to be a part of seeing this project complete.
Thank you. And I'll add that last year, I can speak to the high school that I represent. Wetumpka High School had 23 student athletes qualify for the state championships in track and field without having a track. So just imagine what might happen in our community, both at Wetumpka and all of the schools in our area, if they simply had a place that they could to do that. So we'll move on now to consider local legislation authorizing the sheriff to sell or trade certain abandoned, stolen, or unclaimed firearms to gun dealers licensed in Alabama.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead.
in the past, if the sheriff got ready to sell abandoned firearms or confiscated firearms, the law was such that those had to be sold within Elmore County. And as many of you know, there are not that many gun dealers in Elmore County. It's more of the pawn shop type situation. By going outside of Elmore County, the sheriff can obtain more money for those items to people who specify a deal every day in those types of firearms and so forth. So it'd be a plus for the county to expand that law where those items can be sold to dealers outside of Elmore County. Mr. Byer, anything you want to add?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Was it increases the market, and a lot of this goes right back into the purchase of his equipment for his officers. So it is it's paramount for him to get the most that he can for that, to be able to either trade or swap those weapons.
And a lot of those firearms are not usable. They've been modified. Certainly anything the serial number's been taken off of is destroyed. So these are legitimate firearms that can be sold for market value.
All right. Thank you. And as with any local legislation, whether it be initiated by the sheriff or any other entity in Elmore County, it comes through the county commission, providing us with an opportunity to adopt a resolution, which then would be provided to our state legislature and our local delegation, who would then carry the bill into the state house for hopefully for it to advance and become law. The next item on the agenda is to discuss local legislation for a levelized lodging tax. I'll mention a couple things briefly regarding this and allow Commissioner Mercer and others to add their comments. Autauga County, our neighboring county, last year passed a levelized lodging tax, which equalized the lodging tax throughout the county. We in Elmore County have some municipalities that have hotels or some bed and breakfast, Airbnb, any of those types of locations. And the lodging tax that exists is implemented partially by the state of Alabama and partially by the municipalities. Those monies are then collected by those respective entities. The lodging tax is what is paid by transient people, so people coming into our county for conferences, for visits, whatever it may be, and then those monies go into the coffers of the state Department of Revenue or the municipalities. We've discovered that there are some counties across the state that have implemented a levelized lodging tax, or what our effort is to make the lodging tax the same throughout the entire county. And in so doing, the difference between the existing lodging tax that exists in the respective municipality, the difference between that and the levelized amount, which would be 15.5%, the difference would go to the Elmore County Commission, which then would be used specifically for economic development, quality of life, and for tourism, because currently we have really no resource for those types of things, although we're seeing a tremendous influx in things like fishing tournaments and other things where we don't have boat landings that can support the fishing tournaments that are coming into our county. So this is an opportunity for us, and we've met with all of the mayors in Elmore County and shared this with them, and some of them are not affected currently, but it will benefit all of them, because any type of tourism, economic development, and quality of life efforts will benefit everyone in our county. In addition to that, in our studies comparing these rates to Montgomery and other neighboring areas, these rates will still be competitive with those areas, so it's not putting anyone in a negative position or a negative light from a business competition standpoint. So we are working on the legislation to bring this forward to our local delegation and advance this, which will hopefully provide us with the means by which we can do some of the things that we all view that we need to do in the county. Commissioner Mercer, you have anything to add?
Sure. Thank you, Chairman. In Alabama, we pay a rate, a property tax rate that equals less than $600 per capita. That's the lowest in the U.S. In Elmore County, we pay the second lowest property tax in the state. You know, we're proud of that. I'm okay with that, because we're able to do a lot of things in Elmore County. I'm proud that we're saving our rebuild money. We're not going out and floating a bond to resurface some of our roads. It's taking a little bit longer, but that's just one more way we can be fiscally conservative. But the reality of the situation is when we spend the majority of our money on public safety and public works, there's not a lot of money left to do quality of life projects, such as Commissioner Stubbs mentioned. We've got to start looking down the road 5, 10 years, 20 years, and see what do we need here in Elmore County to maintain the quality of life that has made us who we are for so many years. You know, there are 55 other counties out of the 67 that have a lodging tax. We just want to participate in that. It's not something that is going to be daily imposed upon our citizens. It's a transient tax. It's just another way for people that are coming through our community, they can pay a little bit more toward enjoying our infrastructure and what we have invested in over a long period of time in our county. This revenue is going to allow us to participate in economic development projects, recreational projects, tourism projects, that we think that by investing those dollars in such projects will reap great benefits for the county long term. Thank you. That's all I have, Chairman.
Thank you. Any additional comments or questions from any commissioners? All right, thank you. All right, we'll proceed now. Discuss purchase of property at 219 Main Street, Wetumpka, Alabama. This address, 219 Main Street, this is the service station that is adjoining the new parking lot here behind the addition to our courthouse. So many of you are familiar, several years ago the County Commission purchased the property that was at the top of the hill, and the purchase of this property has not always been made available, but now the property owners have approached the County Commission with an expressed interest in selling that property, which would complete the block for the county in terms of where we have our county operations here in the city of Wetumpka. It is currently not occupied by any business and is not really in a condition to be occupied by any business. So we have been in conversations with the property owners. Mr. Courtney, do you have anything to add regarding where we're at with that? Okay. Well, we have got an appraisal on the property, and, the purchase price that is proposed by the property owner is the appraised value of $85,000. And that, is something that we would like to consider. If we're able to, make that decision, then we will proceed with, trying to get that finalized, and it will give us the opportunity to, secure that property. And, we have not gone through to determine exactly what the possibilities are in terms of turning into that property with additional parking or other things, but we do anticipate having and taking care of that space and beautifying it similar to what we've done in other property owned by the county. Are there any discussions or comments regarding that? We'll now proceed, consider resolution for safety widening, guardrail improvements, and traffic striping on Burt Mill Road from Flat Rock Road east 4.1 miles to Alabama Highway 14.
Mr. Chairman, this is in reference to the recent grant that the county received in the amount of $264,000 under the Rural Traffic Safety Program.
Thank you. All right, we'll proceed then, discuss setting a public hearing on March 23rd, 2020 at 5 p.m. to discuss proposed right-of-way vacation by adjoining landowners of Johnson Street from town limits of Eclectic to Central Avenue in Eclectic.
Mr. Chairman, this road has been talked amongst the city of Eclectic, town of Eclectic, and the county commission for a little bit now. I think the landowners originally approached the town to get it closed. Unbeknownst to them, it was outside the town limits. They've talked to Commissioner Daughtry after that time frame, and they've gone through the necessary steps to get a petition to the county that is in order for the first step, which is setting the public hearing, and then we would give notice to the adjoining landowners and utility owners of that public hearing, and then y'all could, commission could consider that petition at the March 23rd meeting. It is in Commissioner Daughtry's district, so he would be the one who would have to make the motion at that time, if it were the pleasure of the commission to vacate.
And
Thank
Mr. Chairman, I've heard no opposition to the vacating of that road. It's simply a little cut-through lane from Central Avenue to Highway 63, and there's a major intersection just a short distance right above it. So no opposition have I heard regarding that at all. And it would be a benefit to the county that we wouldn't have to provide maintenance on something that's rarely used.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll proceed now. Consent docket, approved personnel property appraiser 1, 2, and 3 job description. Now we'll proceed with personnel notifications. Notification of temporary hire of Andy Dunn to install electronic voting machines at Elmore County voting precincts for the 2020 election cycle. Notification of hire of Anthony Crenshaw, deputy, effective 2/3/2020. Notification of hire of Christine Kodja, corrections officer, replace H. Prater, effective 2/2/20. Notification of retirement of Jerry Mann, construction supervisor, effective 1/30/2020. Notification of reassignment of Stanley Graves, deputy to corrections, replace N. Owens, effective 1/14/2020. Notification of reassignment of Hugh Prater, patrol to deputy, replace S. Graves, effective 1/19/2020. Notification of promotion of Charlie Hall, dispatcher Tier 1 to dispatcher Tier 1. Is that correct?
Should be Tier 2.
Dispatcher Tier 1 to dispatcher Tier 2, effective 1/29/2020. Notification of promotion of Aaron Watkins, sergeant to lieutenant, replace A. Smirnoff, effective 2/2/2020. We'll now proceed with the reports to the commission from Mr. Byer.
Mr. Chairman, the only few items that I have, just to build on what Commissioner Daughtry said about the Burt Mill resolution, this is the required paperwork that goes in with our plans to get that project under review for construction. So that's why the resolution is after the notification of award. This Saturday we had our last countywide cleanup. day. I say the last one because under the current format, it'll be our last Saturday, second Saturday of the month cleanup. We are on schedule in the first part of March to have our new collection facility open, which is on Red Eagle Drive. We're already starting to get a few phone calls about what's going to be accepted and what's not. We will have information being placed as soon as that facility is ready to be open with the items that can and can't be there. But just for general information, it will allow us to resume recycling operations. We're working with the City of Wetumpka in doing that, and hopefully they will see a boom to their program as well as taking those large household items that people would typically bring to the countywide cleanup days, those items that don't fit in your roll-off, the rolling container that you put on the street side. So you know, those items are limited. This is not for contractors. That information we put out there too. So what we don't want is the facility to be abused and then have to limit access to the facility for our citizens and our paying customers of the program. The program is kind of a satellite of the residential pickup in the county. So a lot of people use it in lieu of the residential pickup, but that's not what it's intended for. It's intended to handle those items that won't fit in those containers. So that information will be going out along with more about the anti-litter and cleanup efforts. We were made aware today of a cleanup effort in March. We'll be putting something out about that. The Lake Martin Resource Association has been running one up in the Lake Martin area for a while. Commissioner Daughtry may want to expand on it here in just a second, but we're partnering with them to try to help. Advance is actually going to provide them a container because of the amount of material that they've been collecting over the last several years. So that, along with our Operation Spring Clean that'll be coming up in early April, the public will be seeing all that information coming out. We're going to be putting some of this anti-litter signage and the critters into the school system as well to try to help with that educational effort. And you'll see that along the roadsides as well, just reminding people that we just don't want to trash up the community we live in. So unfortunately, this idea right here came from a couple citizens in the Redland area that actually got some attention on social media, putting a couple of the signs, and I'll be incorrect because I think they're sitting in front of me, but a couple of signs popped up and got everybody's attention on social media. And so the chairman and our PIO, Heather Moe, kind of tracked down where that came from, and that was the genesis of these anti-litter critters with the commission. So we're hoping that all those efforts combined will support what these commissioners have been working on for many, many years now, of trying to make sure our community is clean and ready for new expansion and business. So, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have in the way of report. Do y'all have any questions or comments for me?
We're working on mascot outfits and volunteers, so if any of you are interested in standing on 231 dancing around like one of these critters, maybe we can come up with a creative way to do that. So,
you know, Chairman, I think when we have someone near us, when we stand and look at them, they probably wonder if we're about to ask them to be the skunk or the squirrel or whatever. So but we're really looking forward to seeing how this is going to help improve the.
Daniel, for the record, that is not a staff idea.
Yeah.
All right, we'll now hear reports from the commission. We excuse Commissioner Holt this night. He is unavailable to be here due to some health issues, and we'll now hear from Commissioner Daughtry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here tonight. As Mr. Byer alluded to, the Lake Martin Resource Association has been hosting a very large cleanup twice a year for the last probably 15 years. They're expanding that to include some of the schools. I know Tallass has been involved in the past, Eclectic, Alex City. So it's a wonderful opportunity to teach kids about the environment and so forth. And it's absolutely amazing the many tons of garbage that they clean up every time to make Elmore, Tallapoosa, and surrounding area a much more beautiful place. In our personnel notifications, there's one thing I'd like to highlight tonight, and that's the retirement of Construction Supervisor Jerry Mann. I don't know of anyone who's provided more dedicated service to this county than than Jerry Mann. And on behalf of District 2 and I hope the other commissioners too, I'm positive, they feel the same way, that, we certainly wish him well in his retirement, and we extend our sincere appreciation to his many years of very dedicated service to the residents of this county. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Mercer?
Thank you, Chairman. As the county representative on the ACCA Legislative Committee, I want to mention a few issues that I know that are important to counties that will be discussed at the State House this week and coming weeks. One of the items is a statewide emergency notification system that will be used during and before and after storm events, related events. The other item that I know that is important to Elmore County is prison reform. It's a topic that's going to include sentencing reform due to the fact that the sentencing reforms that were put in place in 2015. It's caused the increase of state inmates in our county jails, which is increasing the cost to run county jails throughout the state. The other item that we know will be discussed is the actual physical construction of prison facilities. As a result of DOC having such a large presence in Elmore County for so many years, the County Commission has been working with our Economic Development Authority to first see that one of the 3 prisons are built on a site in Elmore County, and what we have seen most logical, it be built on a site near the current Draper facility, where DOC already owns more than 700 acres of land instead of buying additional land. DOC has a huge presence. They have hundreds of jobs in the county and have a huge economic impact in our county, so it's very important to our entire county. The other thing, Chairman, I want to report is this Saturday the Millbrook Revelers will hold their annual Mardi Gras parade. Vendors will be set up in Village Green across from City Hall in Millbrook starting at 9 o'clock. The parade will start at noon. The route will run from Smokehouse Restaurant to the Millbrook City Chamber of Commerce, the Millbrook City Chamber of Commerce. Please come and enjoy that. I will be in the parade, and there will be thousands of people there. That's all I have, Chairman.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Reeves.
Yes, I just want to say thank you for coming out to our meeting today. And I want to ask you for prayer for a good friend of mine that passed away this morning, Brother Richard Long. And also, let's keep fellow Commissioner Mr. Holt in our prayers too. Also, that's all I have.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate the comments of my fellow commissioners, and I appreciate their faithful service in their respective districts. I look forward each day to seeing what the day has to offer in terms of what we can do as a county commission to find ways to serve in the community and, more importantly, to protect the interests of the citizens of Elmore County. And I think that we have done a great job of that. We are not perfect, but we look forward to listening and learning and finding ways in which we can do our jobs a little bit better. I'm excited about the anti-litter campaign. I think this is something that we can all get on board with. I think this is something that we can see a true change in our community. Oftentimes decisions are made and things happen and you don't really see or feel the impact of it, but this is something that will be tangible. This is something that we will see when we drive down a road that normally is littered and has trash everywhere, and we'll start to see a difference, and we'll start to see what I consider behavioral changes in people, both in us as adults and in children. And if we can do that and accomplish that, it will have a long-lasting effect on our county. So I'm excited about that. I also appreciate my fellow commissioners and their support of various projects that are happening throughout the county and that we anticipate happening in the near future. We will continue to see our county grow, and we need to continue to focus on growing in the right way. And we need to focus in the 5 pillars of a great community. And those 5 pillars are health care, economic vitality, education, public safety, and infrastructure. And if we can focus on those 5 areas and not get out of whack, we can't just focus on one and the other 4 suffer. If we can continue to work to focus on all 5 of those, we will elevate our community and we'll be able to achieve the success and all of the goals that each of us have for ourselves, but more importantly, for our posterity. I'll turn the time over now to Kimberly for important calendar dates.
This Monday, February 17th, the Administrative Complex will be closed in observance of George Washington and Thomas Jefferson's birthdays. Monday, February 24th at 5 p.m. will be our next Commission work session with the business meetings following. Wednesday, February 26th through Monday, March 2nd will be the NACO Legislative Conference in Washington, D.C. Tuesday, March 3rd will be the primary election with polls open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and our first meeting in March will take place on Monday, March 9th at 5 o'clock with the business meeting following.
All right, thank you. We'll reconvene shortly. All right, good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the Elmore County Commission business meeting dated Monday, February 10, 2020. I'll call this meeting to order. We will begin with an invocation offered by Commissioner Daughtry, following which Commissioner Mercer will lead us in a pledge of allegiance.
Let us pray. Father, we come before you with thankful hearts, humble hearts, and we solicit your wisdom and your guidance in every decision that we make, Father. Be with our families and our friends, Father, and those that we serve every day, Father. Be with the citizens of this county, Father. May we always make the right decision for them and seek your guidance and your wisdom in everything that we do. And bless those that are serving overseas, Father. May we never take them for granted, our soldiers. And Father, we know that the very freedom that we enjoy to walk in this place is sometimes in jeopardy, but they protect us and they serve, and may we pray for them daily. Anything that's accomplished, we'll be careful to give you the praise, because it's in your holy and precious name we pray. Amen.
All right, Ms. Kim, would you call roll, please?
Commissioner Holt, Commissioner Daughtry.
Here.
Chairman Stubbs,
Here.
Commissioner Mercer.
Here.
Commissioner Reeves.
We'll proceed now with regular business. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the January 27, 2020 Commission meeting as presented during the work session?
Motion approved.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Daughtry.
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs,
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer.
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves.
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve the memorandum of warrants for the period of January 23, 2020 through February 4, 2020?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Daughtry.
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs.
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer.
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves.
Yes.
All right, we'll now proceed with old business. We have 3 board appointments to the Elmore County Healthcare Authority Board. If there is a motion for seat 6, we'll hear it now.
Motion to appoint Mr. Lee Greer to seat number 6.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Daughtry.
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs.
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer.
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves.
Yes.
All right, now proceeding to seat 8. Is there a motion?
A motion to appoint Dr. Rocket Lamb.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Daughtry.
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs.
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer.
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves.
Yes.
All right, I'm proceeding to seat 9. Is there a motion?
Frank Barnett for seat 9, please.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Daughtry.
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs.
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer.
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves.
Yes.
All right, we'll proceed now to new business. Is there a motion to approve county participation in Phase 1 of the Wetumpka Stadium project?
Make a motion that we approve participation.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Daughtry.
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs.
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer.
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves.
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve resolution for local legislation and authorize advertising legislation for Sheriff Bill Franklin to sell or trade certain abandoned, stolen, or unclaimed firearms to gun dealers licensed in Alabama and authorized advertising.
Motion approved.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve resolution for local legislation and authorize advertising for a levelized lodging tax?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Go ahead.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve purchase of property at 219 South Main Street, Wetumpka, Alabama, for the appraised value of $85,000 plus ancillary costs?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve resolution for safety widening, guardrail improvements, and traffic striping on Burt Mill Road from Flat Rock Road east 4.1 miles to Alabama Highway 14?
Motion approved.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve setting a public hearing on March 23, 2020 at 5 p.m. to discuss proposed right-of-way vacation by adjoining landowners of Johnson Street from town limits of Eclectic to Central Avenue in Eclectic?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve the consent docket as presented?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves?
Yes.
Personnel notifications. Notification of temporary hire of Andy Dunn to install electronic voting machines at Elmore County voting precincts for the 2020 election cycle. Notification of hire of Anthony Crenshaw, deputy, effective 2/3/2020. Notification of hire of Christine Kodia, corrections officer, replace H. Prater, effective 2/2/2020. Notification of retirement of Jerry Mann, construction supervisor, effective 1/30/2020. Notification of reassignment of Stanley Graves, deputy to corrections, replace N. Owens, effective 1/14/2020. Notification of reassignment of Hugh Prater, patrol to deputy, replace S. Graves, effective 1/19/2020. Notification of promotion of Charlie Hall, dispatcher tier 1 to dispatcher tier 2, effective 1/29/2020. Notification of promotion of Aaron Watkins, sergeant to lieutenant, replace A. Smirnoff, effective 2/2/2020. Reports to the commission. Any additional reports? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Ms. Kim?
Commissioner Daughtry?
Yes.
Chairman Stubbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mercer?
Yes.
Commissioner Reeves?
We are adjourned.